Hello, this is Florian from SharePoint Sapiens, and today I'd like to show you how you can use Microsoft Excel and Power BI along with the Employee Training Management app for reporting purposes. So let's jump into this. Here we can now see one of the SharePoint websites where I have this Employee Training Management app installed. And the good thing about this is the Employee Training Management app fully integrates into SharePoint, which means all the data, all the records will be stored in different lists in SharePoint. So you have a list of events, a list of courses, curriculums, enrollments, achievements. And of course, all these lists, you can use them, you can export the data to Excel, or you can also create a data model in Power BI to create your reports. Or you can also just create all the views that you need directly in the list and show it to different users. So for example, if you take a look at the for organizer section, if we go to all enrollments, and here we can just see all the enrollments. And in this case, I have the view grouped by course, which means if I click on one of them, I can really see all the different dates. And then per day, I can really see all the enrolled users. If you want to create different views, you can of course do this as you do in any other SharePoint view. So you can create different views, for example, filter only enrollments that are cancelled, or maybe filter on the achievements to only show users or achievements that are about to expire, and so on. And then you can really show this to the different users so that they know what they have to prepare next, or if they have to follow up on specific things. But in addition to all the views you can just create in SharePoint, you can also export all the views to Excel or use Power BI to create a report. So first, let's maybe take a look at the Excel option. So if we take a look at that enrollment view that contains all the enrollments, if I export this to Excel, and it will open in a new workbook. And in here, I can now also create all my reports. Here it's important to know that, of course, the spreadsheet, it has the same columns and the same records we had in the view in SharePoint. So if you're missing some columns here, just make sure that everything is also added to the view that you use to create that export. But now based on this table, I can also create a few reports. So let's maybe take a look at the recommended pivot tables that we have here. And let's just use the first example. This just shows the number of enrollments depending on the enrollment status. So depending on the user, if the user is cancelled, so we have 12 cancelled enrollments. Of course, most of them are enrolled. Then we have one on the waiting list and a few waiting for an event. And of course, we can now, in addition to just that table, we can also maybe add a chart. So let's go with this one, so we can really see how many users are enrolled, cancelled, and so on. Of course, you can also do the same based on the reply, so that you can really see how many users declined an invitation, how many accepted, and so on. And also what would be nice here is to also have maybe a few filters, so we can add a slicer so that we can maybe filter by course or maybe by date and so on. So for now, let's just go with the course example. So this means now I have this filter here, and if I now select this particular course, of course it will then update all the charts. Of course, that's really just one simple example, but of course you can get really creative here, and once you're done with creating your reports, you can of course save that file either back to SharePoint or you can store it locally. And the good thing is that the data connection is still active to the SharePoint list, so which means if you go to that query file, you can go to properties and configure it that it automatically reloads or refreshes the data when opening the file. Which means if you have that file saved back to SharePoint, whenever you open it again, it will reload the latest data, the latest enrollments, and it will just then update all the reports. But instead of using Excel, we can also use Power BI. And we can either do this directly from the actual view or the actual list. So if we go again to the enrollment list, we can of course now go to Power BI, go to visualize the list. So this will also create a basic report, but in there we don't have a lot of options. So there, of course, you can change a few things, really decide what you want to report on. But if you really want to create a dashboard, also combining multiple lists, it makes sense to use Power BI Desktop. So let's now take a look at this option. In Power BI, we first have to connect to a data source. So in this case, we click here, and then we can choose SharePoint as our data source. So we go to Online Services, go to SharePoint Online List, and then we have to enter the URL to our employee training management site. So let me just enter that. And if we now click on OK, it will now load all the lists, and then we can decide what lists we'd like to include. So here we see all the lists. Of course, we don't need all of them. Actually, for now, let's only include the enrollment list. Of course, you can also include achievements, add courses, and all the other things, but just for this example, the enrollment list should be enough. And before we load it, let's actually go to transform the data. What you'll notice here is that in this table, we do have quite a lot of lookups that point to instructors, skills, but also events, managers, and so on. And you can see all of them show up either as records for single select lookups or as a table. And we cannot really use them for reporting. So let's actually go to click on choose columns, and let's decide what we actually want to have in our report. So let's unselect everything, and then let's include everything we need. So we're going to need the title because we want to have like a unique value for each enrollment. We also need, let's go include the event date. Let's go with the email address, full name. That's always nice to have. What's really important is the status and the reply. And then we also want a few other things. As I mentioned before, all these lookups, we cannot really use them in this report, but I'm going to show you an option how you can actually get them in here as well. And for this, what we have to do is we just have to select here that get fields as text option, which means if we do this, it will now return all the columns we've selected. And for that get field values as text, here if we open it, we have again all the same columns. And here now, if I choose all these lookups that we need, we will get the actual value instead of just the record or the table. So we're going to select topics, which means this would be the course, and we have the event. We have maybe the enrolled user that's useful. We also want to have the student, which is the learner, the curriculum, manager, achievement, the trainer, instructor. That's also nice to have. Primary skills, target levels. And I believe that should be it already. So let's click on OK. And now you see we have all these additional lookup fields now available with all the values. The only thing I'd like to change next before we actually close this is the column names. So you can see all of them now have this field value as text dot the internal name of the column. So we want to change that so that we can actually use them. So let me rename all of them. So once we have everything renamed, we can go to close and apply, and this will now load all the records. So now the list is ready and we can start creating our report. So let's maybe start with a similar example that we had also in Excel. So let's maybe create a report based on the reply and maybe status. So let's maybe go status first, and then we go value would be the title. That's the unique name for each enrollment, so we can really see how many users are enrolled, cancelled, and so on. Let's maybe in here just change the title. So that would be number of enrollments per status. Just as an example, let's maybe do something similar for the reply as well. So that's also here and here. Title. Reply. Save that. And that's good. And now we also can maybe show a chart where we have the enrollments per instructor. So let's go with instructor here, title here, and also let's rename that. So we can see for each instructor how many users are enrolled in all of the courses. And that's nice, but also let's maybe add a few filters as well. So let's go with this one. Let's maybe add a filter on the on the course, and maybe another one on the target level. So just as an example. And of course, all of these lists are connected. So if I choose a course, of course, everything changes. And yeah, let's just remove that again. And yeah, so this is really just a basic example of a report. In this case, it's really just on the enrollment list. It shows a number of enrollments per reply, per enrollment, also per instructor. But also you can add something similar if you also want to track the achievements, expired achievements, and so on. But once you're ready with your dashboard, with your reports, you can of course publish this. So let me just go publish to Power BI, save that, and save it to my workspace. So once it's published, I can click here to open it in Power BI on the web version, and this now gives me also the Power BI report URL, which means if I want to show this on one of my SharePoint website, I can just go to the actual website and either show it on an existing page, or in this case, let me add just a new page to the SharePoint website. Let's just go with a basic page. So this is a report. Let's add another web part, Power BI in this case, and let's just go at the report based in that link. I can also configure what I'd like to show. Don't need the action bar. Yeah, that's good. Show navigation. There's nothing here because it's only one page. There's nothing more. So let me just republish this, and now users that have access to the page, they can now use this report, and it's fully dynamic. So if we select anything, of course it will change. So also if we take a look at only cancelled ones, we can really see where they are, like for what instructors and so on. Okay, that's it. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. Thanks for watching and see you soon.